everyone, welcome back. Thanks for being here. We are going to do a garden tour of everything in the backyard here. It's a little bit of a windy, cold day, so hopefully the wind's not bothering the mic. I try to do a tour with the camera and holding it, and I don't have a gimbal or anything to stabilize it, so it was really shaky and would cause, when I was watching it, caused me to feel a little motion sickness. So we're going to do it a little differently. We're either going to use the house camera or the one I'm talking to, and I will walk around and move the camera as we go along. So we'll start here. This is the back part of the backyard. The fence here is holding up the arch trellis. I have zip ties holding it up, and pole beans will be growing up it on both sides. There's grow bags down here that I'll plant the pole beans in. Right here are all the strawberry beds. These little containers here were actually part of a set that were tiers to stack on top of each other, but they were impossible to water very well. The bottom tiers wouldn't get water to the center. You're supposed to be able to water from the top, and then the drainage seeps down to the other tiers, and it really didn't. Things did horribly in them last year, so I decided to use them as individual containers and not as a tier system. So they're just lined up here, and I'll run a little bit of drip to each of them, and I'm just going to use them to hold strawberries. So I dug up the strawberries that had procreated themselves onto the ground around the beds, and I got a little bit more to dig up over here, and they'll go in those, and then they'll go in another thing that we're going to do later as well. I managed to give away a ton of strawberries, luckily. That's everything over here in this corner. And then in front of me here, you can see we got the T-posts up. The cattle panels are very challenging to attach to the T-post, so they haven't been fully attached yet. They're just hanging in there. I don't have the proper tools, so I'm using some needle nose pliers to try to bend the clips, and it's very frustrating. So I'll get to it eventually. In this bed here, it's the shape of an L. I'm not sure if you can see the whole thing or not, but the T-post on the outside is going to be where the tomatoes and tomatillos are going to be, and then those green things are all the onions that I planted actually a year and a half ago. It was fall of 21, just to see what they would do. And they never formed bulbs. They just gave me greens all year, and now they've gone to seed, and they look pretty cool. So those are going to come out, and then the herbs are going to go where they are. There'll be some flowers, some echinacea, that catnip, that big bushy green plant's a catnip, and we have a cat that comes, I think it's a stray, that likes to come hang out back here and roll around in the catnip. So I'm going to dig it up and put it in a container, not in a garden bed, so that way the cat can enjoy its time with the catnip but not be in a garden bed. So you can see the rest of the L-shaped wooden bed now. And then we have some containers here. I was going to do peas in this one, but I decided, since I bought way too many sweet potato slips, more than I should have bought. That's something that I would usually do, is get too many of something. They're going to be for sweet potatoes instead, and I'll just take these trellises out in a bit. And these are sunflower stalks. I grew mammoth sunflowers last year, and I don't know if you can see, you probably can in that other camera, how tall they are. They are massive, and they are sturdy, strong, like as sturdy as a stick from a branch from a tree. So I'm going to grow Malabar spinach up them. This will be for dahlias. The dahlias, they probably got 4 or 5 feet tall. I don't know. So I'm going to plant them. We've already had our average last frost date, but it's still cold. So in a few days, I'm going to plant the dahlias in here. And as they grow, I'm going to wind them through that. I think it might look neat. I don't know. These are actually just extra pieces to some trellises that I'll show you in a sec. Soon I'm going to show you what's going to go on these. I'm so excited for it. And then you can probably see 2 little bushes here. Those are currant bushes. They didn't do very well last year, but they came back. They survived. So we'll just let them do their thing, and we'll see what happens with them. Right here in this bed, these are all going to be for cucumbers. Let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8. 8 of them for cucumbers. And then on this space in here is going to be cilantro. And then out here is extra space for extra plants. So I got some celery here because I was going to do celery in the wooden bed, but the onions took up more space than planned. So the celery got bumped over here, and 3 purple cabbages so far, and a few leeks. And then there's still going to be a little gap of space there in the middle for random extra stuff. Sometimes I grow more seedlings than I actually need, and it's good to allot extra space spots for stuff like that. Last year I grew way too many onions, and then I had to use a lot of different spaces for those, and then whatever extra space left over I just filled with bush beans. That's the easiest way, I think, to fill some space or little small spots, or if you don't have any seedlings, you don't want to go buy any, just put some bush beans in, because those are best direct sown anyways, and they just get like that tall. They don't get very wide, and you can put them anywhere. So my go-to filler are bush beans. I love the dragon tongue and the purple. I'm now standing where the camera just was. So the strawberries and onions are all back there, and facing this way is the compost bin. There's actual compost made. I'm so proud of myself on the far end. So I just need to scoot all this stuff this way a bit, and then dig out the good stuff. We're gonna have to check this out in a sec. But there's seedlings in the compost. I can't remember what I dumped in there that would cause seedlings. I don't know. I'm not gonna let them grow, because I did that last year. There was some super healthy, amazing plant, I didn't know what it was for a while, growing in the compost, and I just left it, and I wanted to see what it would be, and it was literally the healthiest plant in the whole garden. Was this random plant, long vining plant, growing in the compost. It turned out to be cantaloupe, which was pretty cool, because I tried to grow cantaloupe in another spot and it just didn't work out. So the only cantaloupe plant I had was growing in the compost, so I didn't turn my compost the whole season last year, which was a bummer, because you can make your compost faster the more you turn it. So I was like, well, I guess I'm not going to get any compost out of this before the end of the season. But the cantaloupe, there's a couple that grew. Only one of them was so good, like so sweet, it was amazing. The other ones were kind of flavorless and bland. So overall, was it worth it? No, because I didn't get to turn my compost, and there's only one good cantaloupe out of the whole ordeal. So we're going to check those out in a bit, maybe at the end of the video. And I might pull them out and plant them. Or try to inspect the seed. If the seed that they came out of is still there, maybe I don't know. We'll see. Let's continue on. So some more arch trellises here. These were super cheap from Amazon, because I don't like spending money, usually. And so I just knew that I didn't have to have anything super good quality, super sturdy, or anything like that, because I can just zip tie it to the fence, which I did last year, worked perfectly. So why not do it again this year? So these are zip tied, and they're not even really for growing stuff on. They were for wedding ceremonies, like decorating them. I don't know, but they're gonna. I have faith. They're gonna do great. And so there's grow bags down there. There's enough space for me to walk under and reach up and harvest. Hubbard squash, I've heard, is very attractive to the squash bug, and the squash bugs are hellacious here. They multiply so fast, and their spawn get everywhere so quickly. It's frustrating. So the Hubbard squash supposedly attracts them, and they prefer it over the other plants. So it's going to be a sacrificial plant. I'm going to have 2 over here, and the pumpkin and winter squash stuff is going to be on the other side. So hopefully they'll be drawn to this side of the garden and not that side. I know that it's not completely foolproof, but maybe it'll help. We'll see. If I get a blue Hubbard squash out of it, that'll be cool, because I hear they taste really good. That's the plan for this space. Pole bean, sweet potato, and blue Hubbard squash. Right here is a very interesting space. First of all, these are all grow bags. There's 12 single grow bags, and then these are 4 pouches all connected in one square. So that's 6 regular grow bags, and then there's 8 spots, 4 of the green things total, and 8 here and 8 there. Anywho, so I had these grow bags in different spaces over the years, and I wanted, every year you get an idea, or you want to change something, do it up differently, or optimize the space differently. So what ended up happening was I put all the grow bags here on the ground last year, or the end of last year, I can't remember. And they were much lower, and they were getting shaded out quite a bit. They're about the size of a garden bed, which is really neat. I love it. I think it's just really cool. And so I'm like, well, these need to go higher. These need to be just as high as the bed next to them over there, the wooden bed. So what can I do? Now I'll show you. See that pallet? It's a pretty thick plastic pallet, and there's actually 2 of them. So this mulch is so high. The mulch is probably that high off the ground, and then there's that much of the pallet showing. So these bags are on top of 2 pallets, and they're now as tall as the wooden bed, and they act just like a garden bed. And I love it. It worked out really well. And the drip just goes like that, as if it was a garden bed. Next section, you saw this big metal bed here. Then we got this little one. It was actually a tree skirt, Whoa, the wind's blowing the camera. Where was I before I was so rudely interrupted? Tree skirt. That's what this is. I turned it into a garden bed. It's going to grow determinate tomatoes. I'll probably just put like 4 of them here, and they'll probably get around this tall, and I'll just put short trellises around them, just holding them all in together. And then if you watched previous videos, you would see this bed, and you saw us plant it. This is the brassica bed, and whenever it's no longer cold out, I will put netting over it, because the white butterflies, or the white moths, whatever you want to call them, they lay their spawn all over them, and then they eat the whole plant, and they don't do very well, and I don't like that. So, and they don't need to be pollinated, so they will just have a net on them, and I'll leave them alone. And then I talked about this kale plant before. If you saw that video, it was small. Look at this massive plant from last year. I'm just so impressed with it. We've got some spinach that's popped up here, and everything else, so we direct sowed the spinach, and then everything else we transplanted. All the purslane died except for 1. So yeah, brassica bed or salad bed, whatever you want to call it. I also mentioned before, all these pouches along the wooden bed here. I just think that is the coolest way to optimize your space, is to just get on Amazon and look at all the things, the ideas, just everything. You can get some really great ideas by just shopping or looking around, window shopping on the internet. And I came across these, and I was like, those could totally go on the bed and like not really take up any space. But how many? 6? 18? Without actually taking up any space that would make a difference, I can now plant 18 different plants just by putting them here. So if y'all have wooden beds, Amazon is where you can find these, and you just screw them into the wood, and there's little grommet holes that just lay on the screws. They dry out pretty quick though, so you want to run water to them somehow. So just staple some drip tubing across them, or sprinklers hit them, or hand water them at least once a day, because they dry out pretty quick. I have one that's going to go on the fence, I'll show you later, and the pouches are even smaller, and it dries out so fast. You got to water it 2 to 3 times a day, so a little bit of a pain. But if you keep up with it, they are really worth it. So we have grow bags all along here just to continue optimizing the space. Originally, I just was totally good with extra walking space, and then I started to be like, oh, you know, I could fit something in that little spot, or, you know, anywho, so after the years go on, you start buying stuff. I've now optimized the space to where When things are growing, I can squeeze through and it's okay, but I can't get a wheelbarrow through. So wheelbarrow access to this side is over there or right here. This tote won't be here, or through here, and there's more wheelbarrow access down there where I've allotted enough space to be able to get through. I don't need space to get through with the wheelbarrow on every single part of the garden, just a few spots. In the video, if you did watch it, you would see that we planted peas in these two over here with the green trellises that I made, and some over there. They've popped up, a lot of them, most of them, which is awesome. So yeah, you can actually see from this angle how I have my stuff set up out here. It's not super pretty and glamorous, but I'm really not that worried about it. That table is there to whatever I need to do. If I need to up pot before things go out, if I need to harden stuff off, I put the stuff out there. If I just need a place to set something, that table has been amazing there. And then I have two totes under the table. They are holding just some random tools and stuff, like drip system stuff. That's what's in there. The other one's holding fertilizer bags. They don't keep the water out very well, so they're covered with plastic. And then those drawers over there, they're great because they hold my hand tools as long as I remember to put them away, and my gloves, some landscaping staples for the drip system, and just random little things that I need to put away. And then you can see all that compost, those yellow bags. I'm about to use those. I'll show you soon. Let's see. That little stationary greenhouse. I don't even know if my finger's in the right spot. Right there. That is right. It's got some lettuce in it on the top shelf, and they're doing good. It's just a little protective if need be. I could actually grow lettuce and brassicas and stuff like that in there the whole season, and it would keep the butterflies out. We'll see what I do with it. It's just another way to grow something in a small amount of space because it's kind of like vertical growing there. I actually had it zip tied to the fence last year, and I used it to grow cucumber plants up it, and it worked well except for the part where I couldn't reach all the way around behind it. But otherwise, the cucumber plants grew right up through it. They just kept growing up to each level. But I'm not going to do that this year. I'm going to use it the way it's supposed to be used and not try to grow things up it. Okay, so I think we've covered everything over here. Did we talk about the laundry basket over there? I don't think we did. So do you see, my finger in the right spot, right there, I think, is the laundry basket. If you watched the strawberry video, then you would have seen us plant up strawberries inside the laundry basket. And most of them have taken and they're good with it. They perked back up and I think they're going to grow and survive. Some of them, like the really small ones, were not pleased with it and they're just going to have to get over it or be replaced. So I still have extra strawberries in the corner, like I mentioned, that I need to dig up. So whatever ones peter out will get replaced. And then this big container right here is going to be for a bunch of sweet potatoes. So that's going to be awesome. All right, let's bring you in to see the things that sprouted, the peas. See, aren't they cute? There's a bunch of them. I'm so excited. I can't wait to have peas. They're Sugar Daddy Snap peas and they are so good. Right here you can see the chive that we transplanted recently from one of the pouches to give it just its own bag, and then a random pot, and then behind it will be savory, parsley, and fennel in those two containers. And then the carrots came up as well. I don't know if you watched the video where we did the carrots, but carrots, radishes, and beets are all up. And this is something new that I had said previously we needed to put this together and put it in place because it was sitting over there in the grass. So that's been done, and this area is the winter squash and melon patch, I believe will be its official name. But this area was called Poop Mountain previously because this was Tater's favorite spot to poop, and she would just leave mountains of poo everywhere. So I cleaned it up. We got this built. There's still a few piles in here to clean up because she went and pooped out here again between the time I cleaned it and the cattle panel got put in. All around the edge from there to that fence there. so they can't get any more, luckily. And then we moved this over here. We needed just get off the grass so it would stop killing the grass, and it broke, so it was kind of pricey, and we don't want to just trash it. That would be kind of dumb. So we're going to try to put it together. We're going to try to glue it. It's not going to look pretty, but if I have to use duct tape, I will. Sadly, because it's a very pretty structure, I would hate to use duct tape on it. But either way, we're going to make it work. And once it's been glued and the pieces dry, we're going to put it upright, and it's going to go here. And then you can see these grow bags placed all over the place. Since all the plants growing in this area are going to be large vining plants, these are spread out to where whatever plant's going to go in them, there's enough space, enough space to give the vines to grow out. I hope that things do so well out here that by the time the end of the summer's here, there's vines everywhere. You can't walk through it. It just looks like a big old messy patch. I hope a vine catches a hold of this and grows up it. And I have high hopes for this area, and I think it's going to be awesome. Can't wait. You can see sticks in all of these bags here, and these are to hold up netting. So the vine borer will come in and lay its spawn at the base of the plants for like the pumpkin and squashes and zucchini, and I think the mother burrows down and lays its spawn, or the spawn burrows down. Either way, it ends up in the stem of the plant, and the grubby whatevers you want to call them will start to eat the inside of the plant and kill it from the inside right at the base of the plant, and they'll eat through the stems upward until they're done, I guess, and then they turn into vine borers themselves. I don't know the life cycle of them. I just know that they hit in May, I believe, when I looked it up, sometime in May. So I'm going to plant the seeds and surround each bag completely with netting, and I'm going to use these to keep the netting in place and some clips, and hopefully the vine borers won't be able to get in and lay. And then whenever the plants are too big and the nets can no longer contain the plant very well, I'll take the netting off and I'll take these sticks out and let them do their thing, at which point the squash bugs will be annoyingly everywhere, and then I'll have to come through and pick them out by hand. If they lay their spawn on the leaves, I usually just cut the whole leaf and drop it in a bucket of soapy water. Guess I shouldn't have locked myself in. Okay, so now we're in the pumpkin melon patch, and over here in the corner is a raspberry plant, and it is just grown everywhere like crazy. And there's a bunch of little tiny ones that are growing up out of the ground. So these are just expanding insanely. There's four plants originally, and they'll end up growing together and taking up this whole space here. And the vines are going to have to share space, and that's just how it's going to have to be. This is a little blackberry plant. It's got little nubs on it, so it's survived somehow. We'll see. And then there was one right here, but there's no evidence of anything being there anymore. So the dogs probably completely flattened it, or the winter took it out, because it was one that I bought from Walmart, and I don't even know if I paid attention to its zone or anything like that. I think I might have just assumed that, well, if the Walmart in my area sells it, then it must be fine. But I've learned the hard way not to rely on that, because that might not be the case. Okay, so there will be a video that comes out about me putting this mulch down, so you may or may not see it before this, I don't know. But there are 4 blueberry plants here, and the fencing that we used, the cattle panel here that we used to enclose the patch, we're going to put that around each blueberry plant, because you can see all these little black trellises that I stuck in the ground to protect the plants are not keeping the dogs off of them, and they've snapped my blueberry plants again and again and again, to the point where I don't even know how many are going to survive. There should be 4 plants there, and I have no clue at this point. The one over there, the farthest one, was doing so amazing. It was getting big and it had buds all over it, and then they broke a bunch of its branches. So I don't even know. We shall see. Oh, and then there's going to be grape plants all along the picket fence. I mean, it's a picket fence. It can act like a trellis. So I figured I would give the grape plants 10 feet on each side, and then plant another one 10 feet on each of its side. So like 20 feet between each plant all along the fence, all the way to the very end by the strawberries. So I'm hoping a few years down the road we have a ton of grapes and berries and, you know, all the things. I wish there was room for a bunch of trees. I mean, there could be if we didn't have the fire pit, but the fire pit's really enjoyable to be able to still have. So it's going to stay a fire pit instead of an orchard. Last spot to show you is down there at the very end of this side of the fence are elderberry bushes. They're big and pretty. The berries actually taste terrible, so I kind of regret planting them, but they're going to go ahead and stay there because I don't want to rip up those big, beautiful plants. And then there should be an aronia bush down there at the very end, but dogs trampled it as well. And then there's 2 more blackberry bushes right here. I'm not sure if you can see it on camera, but they're there. Okay, we're going to exit the patch and go check out the compost. Let's see what's growing, whatever those seedlings are in the compost. Oh. All right, give me about 20 minutes to get this gate back on. Finally, this gate is so chintzy. The lock is chintzy. Oh my gosh, I just did it again. Okay, so I'm not going to lift up on it this time. I'm going to push down on this side to get it in. There we go. So the doors don't actually connect and stay connected to the frame. I guess maybe if you wanted to use it without a gate, you could, but it's kind of a pain in the butt. Oh, I never took the stickers off of it. Should probably do that. Do the compost. These are neat. There's a bunch of them. What are they? They're everywhere. Some of these look like marigolds, actually. So I wanted to dig all this and get the good compost out and move all this around. But if those are marigolds, why would there be so many marigolds back here, though? Yeah, I found the seed pod. I have no idea what it is. Okay, here we are. We got 8 of them. This one's the most massive. I'm really curious about what these are. They're so strong and healthy. I think these are leggy because of where they were, but wow, just wow. What are these? Well, we're gonna find out. This will be a neat experiment. I'll probably have to up-pot them. I need to water them in right now. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this tour, and I hope you follow along to see what we do with the garden this year and to see what those seedlings on the table turn into. Oh, I just saw a dandelion seed flying. That's lovely. Well, you have a blessed day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.